It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy.
It's time to take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Be sure to listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and other popular podcast platforms. We also bring you Inside the Podcast each week, where you can view the podcast via our YouTube channel. Join the thousands who watch each week. Thanks to our partners, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, the Tamara Kucik Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, the Insurance Alliance Group LLC, our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. And our donors, Justin O'Neill, Winsight Media, and Redwood Investments. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with Coaches Turner and O'Neill. Here's your host, Curtis Cross.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 22 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Curtis Cross, your host, and with me as always are coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Each week we invite you to the table and into the studio for our podcast where we discuss high school, college, and pro sports, along with the occasional conversation that we feel must be had. We enjoy mixing it up, hosting a variety of guests, and building our audience. Listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and just about anywhere podcasts can be found. You can also come inside the studio via YouTube each week. Greetings to each of our listeners and viewers. This is episode 22. We'd like to thank our partners, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, the Tamara Kucik Team, Insurance Alliance Group LLC, and Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Last week, we had an absolute blast as the wives took over the podcast for episode 21. Nearly 5,000 of you viewed that episode. Last week is a must listen as there were gifts, a game show, and I must give shout outs to Lynn Daring, who treated us to our post-episode meal, which was all kinds of yummy. Credit goes to Erica for the top two zingers of that episode, and credit to Leah and Paula for always adding some style to the podcast. Now let's hear from the crew. Fellas, how are we doing this week? How was Thanksgiving and the long weekend?
Thanksgiving was awesome. Awesome. I mean, it's always good around the holidays just to be with family. And we had a good time.
Good eats?
Oh, man. I hooked up the dish.
Right?
Bacon, lobster, mac and cheese.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Jared's favorite.
That sounds good.
And he's still tearing it down.
Uh-oh. So there are leftovers.
So there's some left.
There's some left.
Okay.
There's some left.
See what you're doing later on tonight.
I mean, he didn't bring any into the studio, I see.
That sounds amazing.
That dude might have smacked my hands off if I took that out the house.
That sounds amazing.
But
Thanksgiving.
And that was my first time making it, and it came out unbelievable.
It was right.
I could get paid for that one.
All right.
Get paid for that one.
Coach O'Neill, Thanksgiving.
Great Thanksgiving. I'm going to go back a little bit. The show last week was awesome. Thanks for giving Erica the shout out. Those zingers, I see them on a daily basis. So,
Right.
You know what I mean?
She did her part.
Thick skin over here. I can take anything from anybody on the team here, which we do have a little fun with. But really enjoyed that, and just great to have everybody together on that episode.
That was awesome.
But our Thanksgiving, what I loved about it is we got to eat outside. So
it was
just
in
on the
60s?
porch. It was. We ate a little bit earlier. It got a little chilly later on, but just to be outside and put on a little TV and it was awesome. Yeah. Great Thanksgiving.
Well, good. We are all thankful for you, our listeners, and we're thankful for DJ Krissy, who's our engineer.
Yep.
Krissy, what's up with you this week? You good to go?
I am good to go. And I'm still riding high from last week. The ladies took over.
Yes, y'all did.
It was a lot of fun.
Shout out to you. Were amazing as the host.
I thought you were going to be in a different seat today.
I know. Wow.
She's the point person last week, wasn't she?
She was. And I said in our production meeting, I said that was the coming out party. You handled that beautifully last week. So good job to you. You were great. You were great on the mic.
The other thing I was thankful for this weekend is
I know what you were thankful for.
I had a rough time not being able to be with my team. I said, God gave me a little chicken noodle soup
All right.
by bringing college basketball back.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so
Speaking of your guys,
you were wrapped up this weekend.
And my guys, they all showed out this weekend.
Yeah,
Good.
They did.
Like all of them.
They did.
All of them. Whether it was a win or a loss,
I
they
think
all showed
Terrence
out.
is on Twitter today getting shots up, isn't he?
He made some unbelievable plays to help them in a win last night. Missed a couple free throws, but immediately after the game, and I guess after their team talk, he went back to the court.
I saw that.
To work on his free throws. He understands how to do it, and he took care of business.
All right, excellent. Well, this week, you got something?
I do. So episode 22, I've read ahead in the script a little bit. There's something that's coming up later, a little question you have in there, one of the topics, and so very fitting for episode 22.
All right. This week, we're excited for our two guests who will join us in a bit. Christy Winters Scott, former University of Maryland women's basketball standout, who is now broadcasting for the WNBA, ESPN, and NBC Sports Washington, along with her coaching duties over at her alma mater, South Lakes High School. We are pleased to welcome Dawn Brown as well, women's basketball coach at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff in her second year. Of course, those guests, along with our starting five and sports wrap-up, are all on the way. Let's go to break, and we're coming right back. O'Neill Development is a construction, remodeling, and development firm that has been active in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore since 1975. O'Neill Development specializes in custom residential work, providing extensive pre-construction and construction services. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
Be sure to listen at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
Coach Turner here. Check out this week's episode drop and tell a friend to join the team at Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill by following, subscribing, and liking the show. One headline is brought to you by
Insurance Alliance Group manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property loss. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
Here's your one headline. We are seeing an increasing number of adjustments in college and pro sports due to COVID. How much is this pandemic altering the quality of what we are watching, gentlemen?
I think the quality, athletes are athletes, and I think the quality has been fine. I think it's the cohesion that's messed up.
Okay.
So when you see, clearly empty stadiums, you see teams that are kind of jolted around through, whether they're losing a coach or a player that's got a quarantine and things. So you see that cohesion kind of messed up a little bit. But I think we're seeing, especially in pro football, we're seeing some incredible numbers thrown up. Talk about Patrick Mahomes, talk about, things that teams are doing, Aaron Rodgers. College football, yeah, we see it jolted around, but Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, all those teams are playing great football. They're still doing what they do with the sports they love.
Who's the Broncos quarterback?
This week, it was the kid from Wake Forest who was a receiver, right?
On the practice squad?
On the practice squad, they had to come in and
went 1 for 9.
So you see that cohesion, you see those types of hiccups, but I think the quality's been okay.
Right.
Look, we'll take anything. For months, we were all starving for sports and just be able to see it, but it's still a mess.
I'd say it's different at different levels. I think the pros are the pros. They're going to be who they are, and yeah, will there be some, miscues in terms of timing a little bit because of not practicing? Yes, but I think you take a team like last night. Michigan plays Oakland, and Oakland takes them to overtime, but Oakland had a major shutdown, only had 3 days to practice prior to their first game,
right,
and just played 4 games in I think either 4 days or in 5 days.
Right.
And literally they said last night they only had one sideline inbounds play put in. So they were running the same play every time they had a sideline inbounds play. But you can see from the college guys, I think at the college level, that there's still, that cohesion. Like Casey said, it's not totally there. And so you're going to see games like early on. Some of the little dogs knocking off the big dogs.
Right.
Villanova goes down the other night. I think something that happens in college sports, scouting is crucial.
Right.
That game was taken with as a game that wasn't supposed to happen, and they end up playing a team that has some pretty darn good players in their own right, and they didn't know all the things that they would do to them, and came back to bite them, and they took an early loss. Richmond knocks off Kentucky.
That's right.
And I think
Spiders.
I think in that regard, you're also going to see the teams who have veterans at the college level are going to win some games that you don't expect early on in the year.
All right. Well, we're going to talk to Coach Dawn Brown later. She had one of those situations. They had no scrimmages, and Arkansas Pine Bluff beat Arkansas State by 15 or 17 the other night. So without those scrimmages, you don't. The small guy doesn't necessarily maintain that disadvantage.
No.
When something like that happens. But ladies and gentlemen, that is your one headline.
I'm Coach Casey O'Neill with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Advertising opportunities are available, so why not gain the exposure of our listeners by becoming a donor, sponsor, or partner? Simply contact our producer, Curtis Cross, and we can get you started today.
Thanks to our partners, the Tamara Kucik team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. Our donors, Redwood Investments, Justin O'Neill, donor, and Winsight Media.
Winsight Media, connecting the food and allied retail industries through research, media, and events. Visit www.winsightmedia.com for more info.
Redwood Investments. We are a private investment firm providing growth capital for acquisitions, roll-ups, and management-led buyouts. Visit redwoodinvestments.com or call 202-333-1395.
If you have a question for the fellows, submit your question or show idea right on our website. Go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit Your Idea.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship-level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Friends of the Podcast. Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. The starting five. Ladies and gentlemen, we're up to our starting five questions, 30 seconds each for each coach. They have those 30 seconds to answer. They can defer once per each round of starting five. I'll start with Coach Turner. One person you'd like to have a mute button for. I know this will be easy. Can
I give you 2?
Give me 2.
No, my first one, I'm just going to give you one. Of course, you guys know I love my college hoops.
Right.
But I can't listen to Bill Walton do games.
Oh, boy, I'm with you on that one.
So my mute button, Bill Walton.
Coach O'Neill, your mute button goes to who? It could be anyone.
Uh-oh. Curtis. No, I'm teasing. I don't know. I don't know if I have a particular mute button. We could all think of a lot of different politicians, and you can think a lot of different, but like in sports, I don't know. I don't have one. Sorry.
All right, you don't have a mute button. All right, we're going to go back to you. What professional or college player would you like to see play one more season as they were in their prime?
Wow. That's a tough one. Obviously,
I got one for you. I got a couple.
Krissy, do you have a ding over there just in case?
All the time. MJ. I'd love to see MJ again compete, especially against like LeBron.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Coach Turner, one person in their prime, you're going to bring them back.
To play in their major sport or like in college?
Whatever level you want them on.
Oh, the year of Reggie Bush. Bring him back. Give me another college season.
Okay.
Reggie Bush, I'm all over it. He was a bad boy.
All right. Coach Turner, best sports rivalry. I'm going to give you a couple examples. Skins, Cowboys, Red Sox, Yankees, Bears, Packers, Duke, UNC. What you got?
You already said it. You know which one it is.
Which one you got?
Duke, UNC.
Duke, UNC. That's the best rivalry in all of sports.
All sports.
Because you've been there to Cameron Indoor.
Could be Gonzaga to Mather.
All right.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I'm going to go Army, Navy.
Army, Navy. That's a heck of a series as well.
There you go.
All right, coming back to you. A piece of advice you'd like to go back and tell each of your children. And maybe for the girls, they're a little young. You haven't gotten there yet. But at least for Cole, what would you tell them?
Just a piece of advice is trust yourself. Be who you are. Don't change. So, I would say that to all the kids. Just continue to be who you are. Trust in yourself, and understand that one of the most common phrases in the Bible is "You are not alone." There you go.
Coach Turner, what would you give to Christian and or Jared?
He stole mine. I was saying it as soon as he said it in my mind, but just continue to grow and try to be the best version of you can be. Don't let others be influencing you on who you should be. Allow yourself to trust your gut. Sometimes you're going to have some hiccups. Fall down, get back up.
There you go. That's going to stay with us, right? All right, coming right back to you, Coach Turner. Opening day is 1 week away, and you've been asked to coach a different sport. What sport do you believe you could best coach successfully?
Soccer.
When I wrote this, I'm thinking that's going to be your answer.
Soccer.
Coach O'Neill, I think I know where you're going too. What sport, not lacrosse, would you best coach successfully given 1 week to prepare?
I love basketball.
And you have no returning seniors.
Right. I'd love the gridiron. I'd love to be on the football field.
There you go.
I can see you doing that.
I would love it.
Well, you already have a field in front of you, right?
Right.
But I can see you running it.
I love it. All
right.
right. Plays just over the top, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, after the break, we have Christy Winters Scott will join us on the podcast. That is your starting five. The starting five.
Hi, this is Coach Casey O'Neill, and I'm inviting you to join me, Coach Turner, and the Take a TO team for this Thursday's episode drop.
Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship level contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by...
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Can you feel the power?
You become the star right here with the DJ Krissy Karaoke Show. Choose your song and step to the mic.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest is a familiar name in the DMV and beyond. Be it college basketball, Washington Wizards basketball, the BIG10 Network, ESPN, you name it, she can be seen or heard across several networks. Christy Winters Scott is also a University of Maryland alum, posting the second most points in women's terp in history while ranking first in games played. After playing overseas, she returned to the States and began her coaching career, including a stint at College Park, Georgetown University, and George Mason University. She has successfully staked her claim as one of the area's best coaches, and she currently coaches her high school alma mater, South Lakes High School. Ladies and gentlemen, she's here to take a TO with us today. Please welcome Mrs. Christy Winters Scott. Christy, thanks for taking a TO with us today. How's it going?
It's going great. I hope the people that are clapping, I hope they're socially distanced. But
I'm
doing great.
They are.
They are in our digital soundboard, so we have them recorded. They are not locally here to us right now. Gentlemen, please welcome Christy.
Christy, Coach Turner here, Steve Turner at Gonzaga High School. Welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you on today.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity to join you all. Thank you so much, Coach.
Christy, this is Coach O'Neill. I'm actually a different sport. Basketball is my favorite sport. I coach lacrosse, but I am pumped. I'm a big fan of yours that you could take the time to join us here on the podcast, and just excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I love it. Thanks for having me.
Christy, let's jump right into it. We're glad to have you with us today, and I'd like to start in Reston. Not with you as a player, but as a coach at South Lakes. You took over a program that was 0-21, and within a few years, you were recognized as District Coach of the Year, having turned that program around. Now, I did coach against you while I was at Langley those first few years, so please tell us, what did it take to transition South Lakes into a team who now regularly wins 20 per season?
Oh, boy. Well, first of all, when the opportunity opened up, Oscar Dixon, who used to write for the USA Today for NBA and WNBA and national basketball stories, his daughter was an alum at South Lake. So he had his ear to the ground during that time. And, you know, I was coaching in college, and I had little babies at home, you know, a 2-year-old, and our daughter was like 10 months old, and I was on the road recruiting, going all over the place, and he said, hey, you know, the South Lakes job opened up. I was like, are you kidding? and, you know, I could still be around the game that I loved and also have the babies with me in the gym with their goldfish and juice boxes. So I'm like, sold. So I went back, and you know, the 0-21 record was a little bit daunting coming in because, ironically, when I left as a player with our great team in 1986, we were 29-0. So it was like a full 180 of the record. And I, first of all, I didn't want to have South Lake to have that kind of stamp on it. And I think pride kind of took over. So, I mean, the first couple of years, I think I joked with some of my friends and things, and I said, you know, if I win one game, it's great. You know what I mean? So I think the pressure of, you know, not coming in when it was 29-0 and having to try to replicate that, but to try to reestablish the pride that has always been at South Lake. So I knew it was there. I knew that it would take time to get things back on track, but I also had to make sure that the players trusted me. And, you know, they weren't alive when I was playing in high school. They didn't, you know what I mean? They didn't know the history or the tradition, so I needed to let them know that. And I didn't say that necessarily about what I personally did, but just the standard of the program was something different than they were used to or had embraced. And I didn't want them to embrace that. And I'd let them know that it was totally a mindset. I remember Grant Hill, who also went to South Lakes, he would come back in the summers and things like that. And he asked me one time, he said, do you tell them that you played and you guys won? And I was like, you know, I don't really bring that up a lot. Like, I'm not standing up there like, well, when I played, blah, 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 blah.
Right,
like,
right.
I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? It sound like a braggadocious and all that. And it wasn't like that at all. We had such a great team, and I'm not going to stand in front of them and stand on some soapbox and say, this is what we did, blah, blah, blah. And I just needed to kind of find a way to get them to understand that they had it inside of them. And I think for the first 3 or 4 years in particular, I know I said this in a lot of different ways that, you know, you have a fire inside of you. I'm just here to fan it. Like, whatever that means. Like, it might not mean a 20-win season, but I tell you what it will mean. It will mean your effort, your energy, and your focus are all on the same page. And when we can do that, you know, we can do great things. And I think I had so many different examples, like tangible examples. Like in the locker room, I had like a soda can, and one of them was empty and one of them was full. And I asked one of the girls, I was like, okay, squeeze the can that's empty. And she crushed it, you know. And then I was like, okay, now you take this can, give it to somebody else. You take this can that's full and try to squeeze it. I'm like, I can't break that. Like, well, when you have something in you, you know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I had to use like some visual props, you know, just to get them, you know, these are 14 to 18-year-olds, so, or 17 really. And, you know, I was trying to get them to understand that, you know, I'm not coming here to be like some soapbox person and tell you what to do. Like, you need to manufacture the character that goes behind winning. And I think once they got that, oh my gosh, I was a cheerleader after that. Like, oh, they got it. But our first year, I think we won 3 games and then 4 games. And then I believe we were like 11-11. And then that 4th year, we had a couple of freshmen who started with our group my first year. And we ended up being 19-4 and went to regionals for the first time in 20-something years or something like that. And our point guard, Kelson Manners, was player of the year in the conference. The only player of the year that we've had in my 15 years, which is insane because we've had some really great players come through, like Abby Brindle and Princess Aguirre, who played at William & Mary and UPenn, respectively, and Tia Benvenuti, and, you know, just some great kids and that have gone on to play at the next level. But, you know, just to have Kelson, you know, come through as a freshman winning 3 games and then as a senior to walk off that stage as a graduate, you know, just doing a great job of winning the regular season championship, I believe, that season, and then going to the second round of regionals. And I just think that, you know, the confidence that group built for us was the biggest difference maker. You know, I think it proved that, you know, it wasn't X's and O's, but it was Jill's, but I always say it's not X's and O's, it's Jill's and Joe's. And I believe it was the Jills. So, you know, they got the job done and they fought for what they wanted. And the pride was definitely there because I told them, I was like, hey, I was at the Powder Puff game and the hype squad, you guys were going off, you know, cheering and all painted up and all, you know, all this team spirit. You guys can do that out here too. Like, you can bring that same energy and pride. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to like say, oh, this is just for, you know, homecoming week where everything, you know, Spirit Day and they're all dressed up and they're doing all this. And I was like, you know, you have that spirit for the school in all things, right? Like when we play, when we practice, like, you know, so there was like this indoctrination of what it meant to be a Seahawk. And I had them, I remember, stand on each of the letters. We used to have, I don't think it's there anymore, but we used to have Seahawks written on the baseline on the court. And I had them each stand on one of the letters and say, you know, a motivational word that started with that letter, you know, just to get them to understand what it meant. Like, I just wanted them to believe in themselves and to believe in what it meant to play in a South Lakes uniform. It's not something you take for granted. It's not a right. It's a privilege, you know, and not to be snobby with that, but it's like, you don't, it's not like an after school activity and it's not intramurals. And no, not everyone is going to go play at the next level. But I tell you what, you will play at the next level in life if you fight with your character for what you believe. And that's what my bottom line is. Like, you play with passion, purpose, and pride, period. And that's going to bring out the best in you. And whether or not you touch the floor with your feet during a game or not, you're going to press to be your best. And that's just what I want for these young ladies. And I think it's just so important for women, young women, to believe in themselves, because there's so much, they say so many negative things about themselves. I'm like, no, don't, oh gosh, like, don't say that, like, oh, I'm so dumb, or, oh, I can't believe I did that. It's so stupid. I'm like, oh, like, the self-talk is such an issue, I believe, in our teenage girls, that needs to be reversed. The narrative needs to be more empowering, and not that empowering means that you are pompous or cocky or, all about me, because we have our shirts say, the we is greater than the me. And, I wear that all the time because I want them to know that it's about the team, but you have to believe in yourself so that our team can be the best that it can be. So I think, when I took the job, it was definitely a challenge, but, looking back retrospectively, this is my 16th year coming up now. And looking back, I have zero regrets on making that decision to leave college basketball after coaching for 10 years and, raising my kids, going on all the field trips with them and, having them in the gym, ripping and running. And, the rule was for my youngest son, who's 13 now, but he was a baby in the gym. And I said, the rule is you have to stay behind my right leg at half court so you don't get trampled on. So they basically grew up in the gym, and, they're a little too comfortable sometimes during games when they're like, 5 and 6 years old. Oh, I'm going to get some popcorn. I'm like, we're not at home. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You can't just walk around, but they were just so comfortable with that. And, I just have zero regrets. And now we've had one of our oldest son, he graduated in 2020. Our daughter's a senior this year. And then our youngest is in 8th grade. So he's coming through South Lakes as well. So it's like this full circle thing, for me as a mom as well. But, I just think that, I have zero regrets of going back home to South Lakes and just getting them to believe. It has nothing to do with me, but it has everything to do with the girls' belief in themselves. And I'll take that all day long.
Awesome.
Krissy, Coach O'Neill here, by the way. I might still have some eligibility. You got me fired up. I want to go hit the court right now and get after it. But I love it. So I just want to go back to a comment you made about the young ladies. And I'm the father of 2 daughters. And I love asking guests on our podcast about advice to young ladies. But you mentioned something about like reversing that mindset, you know what I mean, where they get down on themselves. And so how do we do that? How do we reverse in the minds of these young ladies about, you can take down these boys, you can do anything you want to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think it's so vitally important. And I think, the dialogue needs to stay open. I mean, it's really hard. And I think, sometimes, as parents, I think that we think that, everything's going all right, or, they're doing okay. So I don't need to ask them all the time, because I'm always like, are you good? Everything good? You all right? And it's always like, yeah, I'm good. All my kids say, yeah, I'm good. But then I don't know how to really gauge that. Not a mind reader. I didn't get my major in psychology. Like, I don't know, everything. But what I do know is that open dialogue usually helps a lot of issues.
Exactly.
Just to have open lines of communication. But I think in particular for young girls, there's so much competitiveness. I think just on social media, on everything, that, if they don't measure up, then they think that something's wrong with them. And I'm like, I don't, and I think, coming through as a teenager myself, we didn't have social media, but they were still, like, as a teenager, it was still hard. So I think it's even more difficult now because of social media, and it's in your face. You have your phone in your hand all the time, and like, people are texting, and it's just a lot to process. So I think, there's a lot to be said for decompression of social media, number one. And number two, I think that with the dialogue, I think you have to understand who your audience is. And when I say who your audience is, I think it's, where are they? Like, meet them where they are with the belief in themselves, and then try to hold that hand and pull them forward. But I think, if you ever hear them say something negative, like, hey, stop them in their tracks. Like, don't let that just hang out there. right? Because sometimes when those negative things are being said, they're reaching for confirmation that, like, is this true? Like, oh, I'm so stupid. Like, oh, like if you don't say anything, they're like, well, I guess I'm stupid because nobody refuted it. And, no one's saying anything. You know what I mean? So I think it's very important to really be honed in and key in on what they are saying out loud, because it's usually tenfold on the interior of their mind, in terms of being negative. And I think, you see the best in kids when they have confidence. I think confidence is such a key, and in everything, not just sports, but in your classwork and everything. So if you do poorly on a test, that's not the end of the day. If you do poorly in a game, that's not the end of the day. Like, you learn from the mistakes. You retake the test, right? So you retake the game like you have another game and you have another test. And so you just continue to work hard and you continue to dig in. And I think, the more that we pour into our youth, especially our girls, I think the better. And it's not easy. It's not easy because a lot of our young teenage girls hold a lot of the cards close to their chest. They're not going to really, say everything because they don't want to seem like a problem or a burden or whatever. But it's up to us to continue to chip away at that hard exterior and just try to discover, like, what motivates them. Like, these are the things that you do well, and it's not going to be what anybody else on the team does well. This is what you do, so star in your role. Bring what you bring, and don't worry about the next lane. And I think, who was that? Michael Phelps, who was swimming that time, and I can't remember the swimmer who looked over to look at him to see where he was, and he ended up losing. Like, don't look over there. Like, you just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, don't focus on anything but yourself. And I think once people do that, I mean, just in general, I'm not even talking about youth. I think once people do that in general, just put the blinders on, do what you do well, bring your best to the table, and things just seem to work out. But it's when you start peeking to the next lane, like, I got this lead on them, so I'm just going to see how much further I have to go. Like, no, like, you're focusing on the wrong thing then, right? So you're not even focusing on what you're bringing. You're focusing on what someone else is doing. And that's a waste of time. So I think, the comparison piece is huge for girls. And I think the more that we can remove that, the better. And the more that we can have them tap into their own character, what drives them, what motivates them, what they're passionate about, those are the questions that we need to ask to get the right answers.
Amen. Great answer. Thank you for that.
Christy, Steve Turner here. And just looking over your resume, knowing who you are from here, from the DMV, you've worn many hats and been very successful in wearing those many hats. Talk to our listeners about the influencers in your life and those mentors and maybe some of those words of wisdom they've given you to help you have the success that you've had.
Oh, that's an awesome question because there have been so many. I hope I have enough time to get them all in. But I will say, for sure, I think, just going back to when I was at South Lakes, Michael Jackson, who played at Georgetown with Patrick Ewing and all them, won a championship in '84. Like, he was a huge motivating piece for me, and not just basketball wise, but I would see him, I'd be driving it. Well, my mom would be driving me through Reston, and I would see Michael Jackson dribbling up South Lakes Drive, working on his ball handling. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Michael Jackson. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he always had a basketball in his hand. He was always working. He was always doing something with the basketball. He was always playing or ball handling or doing whatever. So I was like, wow, he doesn't just show up for the games and, end up being like the best shooter ever, and get a scholarship to Georgetown and win a championship in college. So there was that I saw. I saw him at Twin Branches. I was playing out there and just in awe, just watching him like shoot shot after shot. So I think that was my first taste of when you put the work in, great things could happen. So I think he was like really a strong motivating piece for me. And then, just by happenstance with Michael going to Georgetown, Patrick Ewing was there. My God. So Patrick Ewing was blocking every shot that was taken. So he was a motivating factor for me too, because he played the game with such a tenacious mindset. And he was just like, you're not coming in the lane. Like, just that kind of thing. And I think that totally motivated me as a high school player as well. And then Cheryl Miller, to me, was a motivating piece as a player because of the passion she played the game with. And the same could be said for Magic Johnson, who I had about 5 or 6 posters on my wall of Magic, just because of how much he was excited for his teammates when they did something well. Or if he gave them a pass and they finished something. I remember him jumping all over Kareem on game 1, and he was like, hey, we have like 81 more games, But I think it was just like the exuberance of Magic being so excited about his teammates. I think that that kind of love of the game was kind of woven into me at that time. So all those players. But I think for broadcasting, James Brown was like the first person that kind of helped me understand what it took to be a pro. And I think I was a senior in high school, and I went on that show, the Morgan Wooten and James Brown show. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it.
Fast Break.
Fast Break.
I've got all of them. I got all of those recorded, so I have your episode somewhere on a VHS tape.
Oh my God! If you dust that off, you need to let me know, because first of all, I see that. Oh my gosh, I remember that day so vividly. I was sitting there and they were asking all these questions, and beforehand, I remember I was there with my mom, and JB said, just sit and talk to me like we're at a cookout. Like, we're just at a picnic, and, I'm just going to ask you some questions. I'm 17, and I'm like, I don't think I blinked. I think my eyes were just like stuck wide open, and I was just like, all the lights and everything, and he was like, oh no, and I think he could sense that I was a little bit squeamish or whatever. And so he was like, yeah, just talk to me like we're at a cookout and just gonna ask you a couple questions. Okay. I was like, oh, okay. And then I kind of calmed all the way down. And, from then on, whenever I saw him at college games or whatever like that, he would always, ask how he could help. And I know I went to shadow him when he was doing some stuff with BET, and he just always, just helped out with advice on next steps. And David Aldridge, another person, just a strong, rooted DMV American University grad, who always helped me as well. And Michael Wilbon during that time when I didn't know anything about the NABJ. And so they said, hey, you need to go to these NABJ conventions. You need to take your tapes there. You need to let people see your work and let them know what you're interested in. Take your resumes, just drop them off everywhere and just see what happens. And I had no idea about the NABJ, so they were letting me know all these intricacies about the business. And I think that truly helped. I remember I went to Atlanta for one of them. And that was like one of the biggest and best trips, because I was around all of them. Like they were introducing me to all these people, and it was just like, I'm pinching myself like, oh my gosh, I'm like in this ballroom standing next to Mike Wilbon and David Aldridge, and we're in this like huge circle of all these people who make decisions. And, and not that I got a job because of that, but I think just to be in the midst of how things work, I think that truly helped me a lot. And then Robin Roberts would be another person who was a tremendous motivating factor for me when I was coaching in college for those 10 years, like the Final Four, like she was doing some of the Final Fours, and she was always around. And I think we were in the same hotel one time, and I saw her at breakfast or something like that, and she was sitting over there. And I, hate to disturb people while they're talking, but it's Robin Roberts. So I went over and and I said to her, and I was talking to her, and I had my card. I remember, I think I was at Maryland at the time, because I coached there for like 5 years, and I gave her my card. I was like, well, here's my card. Like, if anything, comes up, or you hear of any opportunities or something like that. She was like, oh, okay. And then months go by, and I remember I was walking across campus. I believe we had a recruit on campus, and I was going to get her from one of the classes with one of the players. And I'm walking across the yard, and my cell phone rings. It was a big block cell phone, but it was a cell phone. And it rings. It was one of those big antenna things and all the flip phone. Anyway. So I'm walking across the campus, and the phone rings, and I was like, I have no idea who this is, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it, because it could be like the kid's coach or parent or something like that. So I answer it, and she's like, hey, Krissy, it's Robin Roberts. And I think I stopped walking, and my mouth all the way open, and she was like, yeah, I was just going through my desk, and I found the card you gave me at the Final Four. I just wanted to check in on you. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh, my God. So and then we stay kind of in touch now just because of the creature comfort of social media. So, I just tag her and say great job or good luck or whatever. And she does the same. And it's just, those little things. And the thing about mentorship, it's not that the people who are mentoring you are going to give you a job. And I think young people need to understand that. But what they will give you is the encouragement, the motivation, the inspiration to keep pushing. And I think all of the people that I named have done that for me over the years, and I'm super grateful. Debbie Antonelli is another one who has just been a fantastic motivator. We're both mothers of 3, so we have a lot to talk about outside of basketball most times. But she is she's just one of the good people in the world, and she's just she's just a basketball savant, an encyclopedia. I was talking to her last week about the top 25, and she had 0 notes and knew every single thing about every single team. And it's just so impressive to me. And her work ethic, I just remember the advice she gave me was, you can't have any downtime. You know what I mean? Like, as a mom, as a pro, as whatever you're doing, like, you have to keep pushing. And you do have to, I will get my nails and my toes done and my hair done or whatever. But, I mean, you have that little bit of downtime, but it can't be like downtime, like where you stop pushing and looking for what you want. And that's what she meant by that. Not like you don't take care of yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
You definitely do that. You definitely take time to, do your reflective moments. My dad was a pastor for over 50 years. He passed last year, but he was the one who instilled that in me, just to pray and be reflective and have those moments. So it's not like don't have any downtime. No, you have to have that to be, mentally aware of what's happening around you and for you and to you. And I think, but you also have to love on yourself sometimes too. You have to take care of yourself. And, as a mom, it's like, I always eat last, always everything last for mom, like kids need something, but I have something to do. I'm not doing that. I'm doing it for the kids. So everything I take a back seat to, except for when I make a conscious effort to take care of myself. So I think Debbie Antonelli puts that all in perspective, because I'm like, how do you do 6 or 7 games in a week? She's like, no downtime. I'm like, okay. So, I just take that to heart in terms of, you got to push through things, and, the kids are, always in need of something. Something's happening, or something pops up like, oh my gosh, we have to run the target, or oh my gosh, oh, here we go, we got to do this at the snap of a finger, and I'm there to do that. And, grateful for that. But yeah, I think those are the people, if I put them in a room, I would be a super happy woman. So they really helped me a lot.
Krissy, as an analyst with the Wizards, you've seen the ebbs and flows over the years. We know that keeping them healthy is a challenge, which directly leads to on-the-court success. Assuming the health of the Wizards is intact, what is their ceiling for this upcoming season, in your opinion?
Oh, that's such a great question. And first of all, the whole John Wall for Westbrook thing, first of all, I was shocked by that. And then when John came back and said, somebody said that he had asked for a trade, and then he came back and said, no, I didn't ask for a trade. I don't know John Wall through and through, but I know enough about John Wall that he is a genuine young man. Just joined an ownership group of a team in Australia today. So he's doing so many things that people don't know about, people don't understand. With his mom passing last year, and then, he had a baby coming around that same time. He just had his second son, and then he's gone through these injuries. So I think these past 2 years for John Wall in particular have been very strenuous, and, and not a lot of people could go through what he has been through. With his mom being his best friend, I think that's still something that, I think he just got a tattoo on his arm again for her. And I just think that he's such a misread person. I think he's such a misread person. I think that when he re-upped on his contract and he was sobbing at the table with Ted Leonsis, that's John Wall, right? I think you have to, it's like my mom worked so hard and now here I am sitting here. And I remember Ted reaching over. I'm sitting in there like, I'm losing it. I'm sitting there losing it because this is a young man who knows what his mom sacrificed, to get him to be who he was. And, the discipline that she had to apply to him in school. She had to come pick him up from school sometimes because, he wasn't acting right, and took basketball away from him when he wasn't doing the right things. And so I just think that for a humble person as John Wall is, I think he takes so much heat, and people are counting him out. I mean, I've seen his progress from when he was just walking on the treadmill after his injury, down at ESA when the Mystics were practicing. I could see him through the window. I'm like, lean my head to the side, like, that's John Wall in there walking on the treadmill, and getting himself back. And now to see him with the bounce, with the shiftiness, with that speed and burst that he had before the injury, I just want them to play together. When I'm speaking of them, I want John to play with these new young players on the team. And I think in particular, Bradley Beal. I mean, Beal is 27 years old. He's in his prime. Should be a 3-time All-Star, but he's only a 2. But John Wall's a 5-time All-Star who can, average 10 assists a game. And a lot of those assists will be going to Bradley Beal. And they cannot play Bradley Beal the same way as they've been playing him for 2 years with John Wall on the floor, period. So for me, I want to see those two guys together. And I don't care who else you put on the floor. I mean, for me, I'm going to be, how you highlight the two, on the court, on the graphics and stuff, how you highlight, I'm circling those two guys. I want to see how they read and react. I want to see now, 2 years older Bradley Beal playing with a John Wall who will be able to find him in his shooting pockets and get him, the same number production in terms of his points, right? But he's going to get his shots in different ways. He's going to get his offense in different ways because of how John Wall is going to set him up. And I'm just so anxious to see that. So, they start in a couple of weeks here, and I'm just really excited to see all the young pieces mesh together and play well. So, yes, health is huge across the board in the league. But I think in particular for John Wall, I think, you just don't want to see, anything go awry in terms of his health, because I think then that would be so detrimental, not just to me, because I'm over here shaking my head like if something like that happens, I don't know what I'll do, because
that's the hometown fan in you.
I know. I just want him to get out there and play, because I know, number one, how much he loves the game, and number two, I know how much negative narrative has been written about him while he's been hurt. Oh, he signed a big contract. And like, would you sign a big contract? Like, don't put people in this box and point fingers, because that's what my dad used to say. You point a finger at somebody, you have 3 coming back at you. Like, examine yourself before you start judging and putting people down. And, I kind of always have been a glass half full person. So, yeah, you've had injuries. He had double knee surgery, too, prior to this Achilles situation. So let's understand, this is his first rodeo coming through and working hard to get healthy, right? So I just want him to stay healthy. And they don't talk about the process or the mental toughness that it took for him to come back from the double knee surgery, right? Who talks about that anymore? No one's even saying that, right? So, okay, he did it before. He's in the process of doing it again. Let him live. Let him live for a minute. Like, he's going through all these life changes. He's still mourning his mother. Like, it's not going to go away. I told you my dad passed last year, and I'm still suffering. It's hard. And I'm going to have to show up 82 games, to play and be my best every game, or I'm going to get, like, slammed. Like, come on. Like, let the guy be a human being, number one. Let him live. And hopefully he stays healthy enough, this season to see what this team could actually be. And Bertans, man. Find Bertans too outside with those threes. Like, let's go. Like, they have a great complement of great young players, and I just want to see them all obviously stay healthy, but in particular John Wall.
Christy, Steve Turner here again. I'm gonna stay local. I've listened college basketball just started up. I've listened to you do the first 2 Maryland games. Mm-hmm. They're a team that had a potential dream season last year get cut off because of COVID. They've lost some stars who've moved on, but Coach Turgeon has this team rolling already to start the season. What do you see different in this team compared to last year's, and what do you think are the things that Coach Turgeon is going to need to have these guys doing for them to have success this year?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, and the first 2 games, I'm calling the games from home, so I'm not getting the good, juju sitting right there on the sideline. But at the same time, for me, what I have seen, number one, I hated that March Madness was lost, and I know obviously we had a situation there that caused it, and I just feel for the kids. I couldn't imagine being a senior or just a player. I don't care, freshman, sophomore, junior, but in particular a senior. But I couldn't imagine not being able to fight all season and get the regular season championship as Maryland did, and then not be able to compete for a national title. And so, I think for the returning players, I think that has motivated them. I think for Jalen Smith, who was picked 10th overall to Phoenix, I think, he's super proud. I've seen, tweets during the games that he's sending out to the guys. But I think for Mark Turgeon, I think, he was excited to finally get a piece of the championship. They hadn't won a regular season title since 2010 when they shared it with Duke in the ACC. So it's been a minute. But I think the confidence that came from fighting for that down the stretch last season, like that dagger shot by Daryl Marcel at Minnesota, just all those wins that they needed to put in their bag to be able to earn the piece of that regular season title. I think that was really remarkable, and I think a lot of that confidence has carried over to the team this year. And what I've seen that's been different is that they're not relying on an Anthony Cowan Jr. or Six, and Jalen Smith in the middle to be a 1-2 punch. They've had 2 games now, guys, that they have had 5 players in double-figure scoring. So it's been a balanced attack, and I think that's what I have seen that is the most different for Maryland this year. And I think that, if you're a coach, you want to see balance. You want to see 20 assists, on 30 shots or whatever. And I think when you have that kind of sharing of the responsibility of leadership, and not just statistical leadership, but just overall leadership, I think that is something that has been most impressive to see from Maryland early on. And they play Towson this week, and I have that game too. So it'll be interesting to see if they could get another game where they have 5 players scoring in double figures, and the assist numbers being what they have been. And I think also the defense has been a little bit different. I think they've really presented a 2-2-1 press that has really been suffocating at times when they, as Bino says, one of the assistant coaches, he said that, we like to heat them up a little bit, and by that he means, they're not just going to be waiting for you at half court, like they're going to heat you up and come meet you 3 quarters or even further towards the baseline. And, they've gotten a lot of stops that way. And I think, the defensive energy has changed the tide of the games that they have played so far.
Christy, Coach O'Neill here. And this isn't more or less a question, but a statement about the balance that you show. I've just been listening here and just in awe of all the things you've been telling us, but clearly being a mom first, a coach, an incredible analyst on TV, a leader of young people, especially women, and just an incredible person. I just want to thank you, because I think our audience listening to you are going to get that balance that's in your life, but it's that never give up style. So not really a question, just a thank you for the answers that you've just given us. So
awesome interview. Yes.
I appreciate that more than you know. I just, I don't ever really stop. And, when you were saying all of the things that I've been doing or whatever, I don't ever really stop to look back and think about it. I love the game, and I want that to come through first. And I want the best for the kids coming next, And I know that the only way that they can get the best for them is to dig down inside. Like, it's not going to come from me. It's not going to come from their parents. It's not going to come from anybody but themselves. And I think the more we can shine a light and explain that piece to them mentally, the better off they'll be in life. And I always say it's bigger than ball. And I love winning, and I love basketball. I love to hear the net when the shot goes in clean. Like, those are like some of my favorite things. But I think the biggest thing for me has been, receiving like wedding invitations from kids who graduated like 7-8 years ago. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Just to have that, have alums come back to the games and, or send me a text, before a game, like, let's get them Coach Scott or something like that. And I'm like, oh, wow. Those are the times that I stop and think about stuff. I don't, on a daily basis think about, all the different things, but, everything has to do with basketball. So I'm extremely happy with that. But I truly love it. I truly love the challenge of seeing young people tap into being the best that they could be. And that will always motivate me. I don't care if I'm 100 years old. That I will always be motivated by that.
Awesome.
Christy, we want to thank you for your time and for joining us today. Here's hoping we can see you on the sideline sometime soon in Reston. And of course, we will catch you behind the mic and on the screen before too long. Ladies and gentlemen, taking a TO with us today, Mrs. Christy Winters Scott.
Thank you, Coach.
Christy, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much. You guys stay safe, all right?
Thank you.
You do the same.
Thank you.
Krissy, please take us to break.
Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs that stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic. You'll find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com.
Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerando'neill.com.
If you are looking to increase sales and gain exposure, partnership opportunities are available. Contact our producer, Curtis Cross, today to get started. Email turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com to get started.
This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by Real Estate is more than just houses. It's about people, too. The Tamara Kucik team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. Visit www.tamaraforhomes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest was named the head coach of the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff prior to the 2019-20 season. Inheriting a program who was chosen to finish last in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Coach Dawn Brown is well on her way to turning the Golden Bears program around. She found success at Jacksonville University, Shorter University, and Prairie View University, where she was part of 4 consecutive SWAC championships. Coach Dawn Brown is here to take a TO with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Dawn Brown. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Everything is good. How are you?
We are doing good. Coach Brown, I'd like to introduce you to our coaches in the studio, Coach Steve Turner and Coach Casey O'Neill.
Coach, how are you?
Hey, everyone. How are you all? I'm good. How are you all? That was a great intro. I was pumped up.
Well, you're a great guest.
That was great.
And we're excited to have you. And now, granted, I'm a coach of a different sport. I coach lacrosse, and Coach Turner, who is my partner here, is a basketball coach. But we love having people from around the country come in, and excited to talk to you. So thanks for joining us.
Dawn,
thank you so much for having me.
Coach Brown, Steve Turner here. Just wanted to say we're excited to have you. Excited to hear your story.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Brown, I know you're going to tell me that last week was last week, but I got a chance to watch your win on Friday versus Arkansas State. We talked a bit after the game, and you mentioned a couple things to me. So how are you getting your young team to adjust to jumping into a season where there were no scrimmages and where you had to hit the ground running?
For us, this has been a very unique year. With everyone dealing with COVID and everything. But even for us, we were in the process of getting our floor done, getting some stuff situated. So we hadn't started official practice until after October the 20th. Matter of fact, I think we started like October the 22nd. So, we have really and truly just kind of been trying to find ways to keep these young women motivated, to continue to believe in the pieces that we have been putting together. So those are just some of the things that we really and truly have been focusing on. And I think that because they've been so eager to play, you're not having the opportunity to get those scrimmages, been scrimmaging each other in practice every day. It's just one of those things where we just kind of been like, okay, y'all, like now's the time for us to be able to actually put everything together. So they've just been excited, ready to play somebody else.
Well, look, you're not going to walk away from that win. That was a big one. Arkansas State, they closed that gap. You guys ran that gap back out, and I think you won by, 15 or 17? Is that correct?
17, yes.
Good job. That was a great game to watch. You had those girls ready. Coach Turner.
Look here, Curtis. Don't shortchange, Coach. She said 17, not 15.
Okay,
17.
my bad. 17. We won by 17.
Coach Steve Turner here. We're, as a coach, we're all, and this doesn't matter the sport, we're all dealing with COVID. And, you talked a little bit to how you had to make adjustments to getting your season started. There are a lot of high school coaches out here right now dying to get back on the court, wanting to get to being with their players. Give us one or two things that you would tell us to be mindful of as we get started, if we do get to get started, and what should be some things that maybe we should focus on first prior to thinking that we can go back into it like we normally do.
Absolutely. That is a great question. Let me say this. I think I can say that I feel like I've been in your shoes before, because when the NCAA allowed us to actually start officially practicing back in September, you had teams that have been working out since July, in August. A lot of these teams that we're playing in the preseason, they've been working out since August with their team. And we couldn't do any type of structural face-to-face meetings until October the 22nd. So I've been in your shoes. The anxiety was running high with our young ladies being here on campus as early as August the 10th. So us trying to find creative ways from August the 10th with 17 girls here on campus coming to school, yes, to get an education, but more excitingly for them is to play the game that they love, something that they've been doing their entire life. So, one thing that we did was we were really, really creative in using and utilizing Zoom, with the Nike app. We taught our whole entire offense over the summer via Zoom. All right. So we had an opportunity, and we have one of these high advanced offenses. I'm not even going to take credit for my assistant coach. She really, cause I'm a dribble drive, like to get at it. So, she was like, Coach, we need to do something a little bit different. And so, my assistant coach came in and she taught some offense to us, to the staff over Zoom. And I was like, Coach, you know what? That's exactly what we need to do. So we were able to do that, put a spin on it based off of what I knew that I wanted to see from this program. But we were able to utilize Zoom as much as possible, but not necessarily just using it to meet. We were doing, we read a team book together, John Gordon's training camp book. We read that together. We were doing, we were doing those exercises with each other. We would have opportunities where, one of the young ladies may be showing us what she was doing in her workout. We have a nutritionist, somebody to come in and talk to us about how to stay hydrated, how to stay motivated. We had motivational speakers on. We just took advantage of anything that we could have done to be creative. If my staff said, Coach, let's meet about it, let's do this, we did it. And you have to make it fun and engaging coaching to where you can, have the young ladies or the young men to stay with their hands in the program. So that's what we were able to do. But like I said, even having them here, I'm sure for the high school coaches with their players there on those campuses, just find a way to continue to reach them. I tell people all the time, you can only control what you can control. And if you can't control being able to meet with them face to face, you will be able to be in full control of how you want to be able to make that look, being able to do Zooms and stuff like that.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach Brown.
Oh, wait, let me jump in. I'm sorry. Another thing, you can take advantage and utilize the Nike app. So we did that too, getting the young ladies to record their workouts for the day. And then we'll see it. We can share within a group so we can kind of see how hard everybody's been working. That went really, really well too. We did a few challenges in there too.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
I love that. So Coach O'Neill here, you just mentioned, changing the offense, or at least going over the new offense over the summer on the Zoom and with the Nike app. We all know as coaches, defenses change, offenses change, but one consistent is the philosophy of a coach, a mission statement or core principles that you stand by. You've been in a couple different universities coaching, but if I'm a recruit, young lady, and you're sitting down with the family and the recruit, what is your core principle? What is your mission statement as a coach that you're going to carry, with you for as long as you are a basketball coach?
I don't know if I've ever sat down to write a mission statement. And if you want to, say, Coach, you should have been done that, but I haven't done that. So
sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying that it's something you stand by. This is how I'm going to coach, and I'm not going to change that way. Like your values, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. No, I got you. I was just going to say, I don't have a mission statement or anything fancy. I live by three things. My standards are discipline, hard work, and exceed expectations.
Love it.
And so those are the three things, our three pillars that we're always talking about, making sure that we're going to hold these young ladies accountable, being disciplined on and off the court, doing what's being asked of you. We ask that the young ladies give 100% effort 100% of the time, and always to be able to exceed expectations. My bar for them is one thing. Their bar that they had set for themselves is one, and then they have my expectations of the program. And so those are the three things that we talk about in practice every day. We have an accountability circle that we do after practice where everybody gets in a circle and you tell the person to your right or the left, depends on whichever one my captain picks, one thing that they did great today, and then one thing that they need to do better and focus it the next day. So that goes into the discipline part and making sure that we're holding everybody accountable.
That's exactly what I was looking for. You got me fired up, Coach. Let's go.
All right, Coach. Okay. Last season, it seemed as though the three ball wasn't falling so much. And clearly this season, your backcourt has the range. And in your season opener, you doubled up Arkansas State from the three, and your bench also came to play. I remember talking to you and mentioning that y'all hit 3 straight threes from that foul line extended. Where are you in terms of shaping the team that Coach Dawn Brown wants to see night in and night out?
Well, I think that you were able to see a glimpse of it versus Arkansas State. The makeup of as far as us want to be able to push the ball. We want to play fast. This is a new generation, so they're not like the dinosaurs that I played with when I play. Walk the ball up the floor, get the ball into the post. They want to play, and they want to be able to have free range of motion within the offense. For us, we want to kind of create some havoc defensively and allow that to transition over into some offensive buckets for us. But I would like to think that we were able to recruit some great shooters for this program. Tyler Pyburn, who led us in all scores, was a freshman last year. She could shoot the ball just as good last year, but she, went through those freshman jitters, kind of learning a new system, being away from home, having to grow up some. Shakoria Orr, our second leading scorer, I think she hit 4 threes or something like that. Maybe 3 threes or something like that. She was here last year also. So we had the pieces in place. I had a few kids that were sitting out last year that's been ready to go now. But, we really and truly focus a lot. We get a lot of shots up, really and truly talk about repetition and work on that muscle memory. But, like I tell my assistant all the time, the same one who, we had this back and forth about our offenses. I'm a defensive-minded coach. I want to be able to get stops. We're going to be able able to hit some shots, yes, but we got to be able to defend people and making sure that they're not in rhythm to getting shots up. So I would like to think that our defense is our best offense, which we were able to come down the floor to capitalize to be able to get some big threes late.
You did, Coach, and you had 4 in double figures, and I mean well into double figures. So you guys you're stopping the ball, but you're also putting up points, and that was fun to watch. I think Coach Turner has one for you.
Yes, Coach Brown. I think we all talk about the things about basketball on the court. Let's get off the court a little bit. You have been entrusted by a university to help mold these young women into becoming strong women after they walk off your campus. What is the one thing that Coach Brown wants her young women to leave campus with that she was able to instill in their life to make them be better human beings, be better people in general? What is that one thing that you hope that you're able to embark and leave on them before they walk out of your door?
Great question. One thing that I really and truly instill in these young women every day is that you are good enough. You are good enough. And I walk by example with them. No matter what life throws at you, whatever you're going through, just understand you hold your head up to know that you are good enough. You don't have to take the back seat to anyone. Stand up, be proud of who you are. I've always told them, even dealing with the social injustice things that our community has been seeing, our HBCUs have been faced with, just understand that you stand up and stand for what you believe in. And if you always do what's right, and make it come from a place of love, just know that whatever ends up happening out of it, that you've given it your all. You have no regrets. So that's one thing that I always tell them, that, even with us now, my pregame speech, everything, that you matter, your life matters, who you are matters as a young black woman, and you are good enough. And that's one thing that they will definitely remember once they leave this program.
Coach, I'm going to add to that. Who instilled those things in you?
It takes a village. I come from an old soul. My mom, my grandmother is 96 years old. She's still living, driving, and cooking. So, I have those. I was raised in the church. There were a lot of times where, I've been through things. I've gone through ups and downs. I've had some hardships, but I've always had people praying for me. I've always had people to help me stay grounded and really and truly not allow me to ever really hang my head down. For those who know me, know my story. But there was never a moment to where in my career that, I've had time to reflect on, the have-nots or, the mishaps or the mistakes or the lessons that were learned. I've always focused on the fact that, God has an opportunity, has given you a gift. He's given you an opportunity, and whatever that is, you take advantage of it. So my village has always continued to support me, to push me, to drive me. And, I've never really had a chance to think about, the what ifs or, the have-nots. If it's for you, God is going to allow you to have it. And that's just kind of how I live my day-to-day life.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Coach, really, honestly, truly appreciate that answer, especially as the two part of that question, especially as the father of 2 young ladies who, need that leadership and strong women and to look up to, like yourself. My last question here is there anything, if you go back to when you started your coaching career, there's something that you would have done differently, that you would have changed, or you'd wish you'd known something when you started out? And this is to all the young, could be male or female, starting out coaches.
Well, just make sure that you got the right people in your corner when it's time for you to be able to lean on someone. I think that, everyone talks about having a circle. You have those strong people that you tend to lean on when you're needing something. But I was on the phone with Pokey Chapman the other day, and Pokey always says, "Dawn, if you need anything, let me know." And a lot of times we don't really and truly take advantage of those opportunities, of those relationships with people. When people say, "If you need anything, let me know," that doesn't necessarily mean for you as an individual, for you to think that if you necessarily need anything. Sometimes it's good for you to just to kind of call and check in on people. Just let them know, "Hey, I'm just checking in on you. How are you doing? What's going on? How's your program going?" And I think that if you're able to do that, even when you're not in need, you'll find yourself gaining a lot more wisdom in your day-to-day operations, in your day-to-day movements. And that's one of the reasons why, I'll be honest with you all, I think that we're having just a little success here at UAPB. I've really and truly I've taken advantage of building stronger relationships around me and not calling people, necessarily, or, I'm referring to mentors and those close friends in the business, not calling them necessarily just when you need something. So, I think that that's just been something that's really and truly has pushed me, and grounded me. And, not to mention, I think that it's I'm engaged to a football coach, a Division I football coach. And so now those conversations that I'm having at home every day, someone that I can talk to that understands what I'm going through and understands,
exactly.
How to be able to continue to do things the right way. And not to say that coaches ever do anything the wrong way. We never really intentionally do things. But, the generations are different. Players are different around you. So you just have to make sure that circle that's surrounding you, that they understand that, you understand that, allow them to be a sounding board for you through your day-to-day walk.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Coach, tomorrow you've got a Central Arkansas team who hasn't been able to scratch out a win just yet. But as you know, every game and every team can bring it on any given night. We don't want the secrets. We just want to know, what's your focus going to be going into tomorrow's game?
Simple, discipline, hard work, and exceed expectations.
There you go.
We just talked about that in practice. I know Central Arkansas is going to come in here very, very hungry. You want, as a coach in any sport, you want to be able to play well on the road. But for us, we want to make sure that we can take care of business at home. So we got to make sure that we aren't walking around here focusing on the game versus Arkansas State. I think that I've kind of, took the win out of that sail today in practice to let them know that, we can't be complacent. We got to move forward. So, just continue to keep them focused, to work hard, to be disciplined, and to be able to exceed expectations. That's the only thing that we talk about around here.
Well, hopefully you've got a few new fans up here after this podcast. I know I'll be watching, so they'll be watching as well. Coach Turner.
Coach Brown, you talked a little bit about it in one of your last answers, and I just love to know, who are some of your mentors? Who is that coach in the business that you admire or look up to, and what's the best advice you've gotten from maybe one of your mentors?
I think that my mentor for sure is Coach Yo at Ole Miss. Coach Yo and I talk on the phone every day. She was a mentor of mine even when I was at Prairie View, when she was at Jacksonville University. And for her to have an opportunity to take on a program like Ole Miss, to be able to, start taking the steps in the right directions to turn that program around. I feel like a lot of times, she's not even really a mentor to me. She's really like my sister. And we sit down and we have those conversations. I've even taken my staff up there a few times to watch them practice, to see exactly, what they're doing. So, really and truly, we talk about so much. But one thing I think that stands out to me, that she's always said, and is that, Dawn, you just got to continue to work hard and really and truly don't stop working. And that's it. Like, you would think that it's a magic formula. You would think that it's something that, just kind of stands out. But a lot of times, a lot of people, they don't really know what hard work looks like. And for us, being a smaller school, a smaller HBCU, our enrollment at UAPB is about, right there above or a little bit over 3,000. So for us, we don't really have the resources that a lot of other bigger HBCUs have, but we're going to take advantage of every type of opportunity that we've got, that we're going to get. And for her, that's something that she knows. She's an alum of here. She graduated with a master's degree here, but she's always just told me, just continue to work hard and stay focused. And so for me, no matter how many wins or losses that we have, we're going to continue to work hard, and we're going to continue to stay focused I think that's something that I wrote on Twitter. Like, I really and truly don't know how to feel. You want to be able to celebrate with your team. And I had to apologize to them for not necessarily celebrating them because, like, I still feel like there's still more work to do. And so just continue to work hard and stay focused.
Wow. Coach Brown, we love your energy. We love this interview. We want to thank you for taking the TO with us today. How can our audience connect with your program? How do they find you on social media? And this will be my favorite part of what I ask you, because I want you to tell them your Twitter handle. Go for it, Coach.
Well, definitely my Twitter and Instagram handle is Diva Coach UAPB.
Let's go.
Hey, you go,
Coach
girl.
UAPB.
That's right. Diva Coach UAPB.
I love it, Coach.
Well, that's awesome.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to encourage everyone to go get ESPN Plus if they can't watch the Pine Bluff games, on their regular, whoever provides their streaming content or their programming. But, Coach, great interview. So glad to have had you with us today. Anything else you want to leave us with before we sign off?
Absolutely. I just appreciate you all taking the time out to have me on the call today. It really and truly means a lot to me. This is the first person, you all are the first group that's asked me to do an interview, so I really, really appreciate it. That means a lot to me, and most importantly to these young women. So just continue you all to being a fan. We got some more kids that's going to come eligible in about a week, so we're excited about this program. Continue to support us and keep us in your thoughts and your prayers. Thank you so much.
Don't forget about us in a couple years when you're getting that Final Four. Don't forget about Take a TO so that we can
get you for another interview.
That's right.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Arkansas Pine Bluff women's head coach Dawn Brown. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, that is Arkansas Pine Bluff coach Dawn Brown. Coach Turner.
We sit here and chop it up a little bit afterwards. Immediately, the thing that resonates with me with both of these unbelievable women is there's the same message.
Yeah. Work
hard.
Right.
Stay focused.
Right.
Like, stay focused.
No days off, right?
No days off. Stay focused to the task you have at hand. And again, we talk about it all the time. You got to work hard. You got to be able to put in that work to get what you want in the end. And I heard that message from both of these women today, and it was unbelievable.
Nothing replaces that hard work, right?
Nothing. And the same message collectively to the young women. Just be you.
Yes.
Be who you are. We heard it both from Christy. You heard it from Dawn. Be you. Stand up. Work hard. Blinders on, get after it. Don't worry about what the other person is saying and what's happening here in social media and Instagram and thing. Incredible advice for young women, incredible advice for coaches and just people in general. So
I think it's important to see, too, on both levels. Christy Winters Scott has been where she is for coming up on her 16th season. She's been in the media for years. She's been a basketball head since she saw Michael Jackson dribbling up South Lakes Drive, but she still can point back to those mentors, those people who influenced her. Yeah. And she talks to Coach Yo every day, Dawn Brown does. So, we don't do it alone. And we still have someone who's pushing us.
Right.
Because in your circle, certainly you want to have people that you can influence or you can, mentor. You want to have some people who are going to challenge you as well. And they have those folks that are, proverbially ahead of them, that they want to get to that point too. But those messages still keep them grounded.
Exactly. And the message of, they both said it, and Steve, it was a great point. Nothing worth anything is just given to you. Just work.
Got to work.
Go work.
All right.
If you're not
well, we loved having those two women on our program today, and we will be back in just a bit. A Squared Home and Office Solutions. A Squared is the go-to source for home and office network and audiovisual solutions. They will link technology to your lifestyle seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Richard Butts Jr., Jean and Clorinda Carter, Sean Clifton, Paula Cross, Justin O'Neill, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Amy O'Neill Richard, Damian and Brooke Stevenson, Marcus Taylor. If you'd like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend.
The 2-Minute Drill.
Ladies and gentlemen, back with another week of his 2-minute drill, our man from Capitol Grill, downtown D.C., Joey T. Hey, Joey, how are you doing this week?
How are you doing today? Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us again. We are coming down to the wire in fantasy football. Tell us who performed well this weekend.
Oh, man, it was a huge week in the fantasy football landscape with a bunch of 3-touchdown performances. So all 3 of those are going to make my list today. We have Tyreek Hill, who went absolutely berserk for 13 catches, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 178 yards and 3 touchdowns himself. He's doing what he does late in the season. He is a workhorse at this point of the year. This is why you paid a high draft pick for him. And then the guy who came out of nowhere, Antonio Gibson, from the Washington football team, 115 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns, and he even added 5 catches for 21 yards in the air. He looks like the truth. Ron Rivera is going to give him as many opportunities as he wants, and he is going to be an RB1 for the rest of the season.
Sounds like some good stuff this past weekend. All right, so now tell us who underperformed in Week 12.
Well, we had a couple of guys who started off the season okay, and then kind of sank the ship this past weekend. So Travis Fulgham, wide receiver, he was kind of an unknown, but he had some huge weeks for about a month in the beginning of the season. He's disappeared as of late. Carson Wentz's play has gone down. They've got some other targets in the building. So 2 catches for 16 yards. You can't start him until you see more. Jonnu Smith, one of my favorite tight ends, a donut, a 0, nothing, nada. And hopefully he's just saving it for the fantasy playoffs because that's when we're going to really need him. And your first-round pick, Ezekiel Elliott. As that whole offense is just plummeting towards no fantasy production. He put up 32 yards on the ground and had 1 catch for 7 yards. He is your running back 1 who is not putting in the numbers and the work that you need. So, yeah, that's going to be tough sledding going into the most important time of the year.
All right, and what else you got for us, Joey?
Well, this is the time most fantasy regular seasons end this coming weekend, week 14. So now's the time to start stacking some defenses for the fantasy playoffs if you are expecting to make those. You want to pick up some good matchups, and this is the time to go ahead and do that before your competitors are in the playoffs and start thinking about it. I picked up Arizona. They're the 16th rated defense in the league. As of right now, so they should be widely available. They play the New York Giants in Week 14 and the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 15. So those are some great matchups. Even San Francisco Week 16 is not a bad matchup at all. I love the Houston Texans, namely because of their Week 16 matchup against Cincinnati. We don't even know who the quarterback is there. Joe Burrow will not be back. That's going to lead to huge fantasy numbers in the fantasy Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles, they're the number 10 defense, so they may not be available. But New Orleans, Week 14, Taysom Hill at quarterback. And then Dallas, with that mess over in Week 16 in the Fantasy Super Bowl is a great matchup. Seattle, they have a terrible defense, but they play the New York Jets 14 and the Washington football team Week 15. And lastly, the LA Chargers, they played Denver Week 16 in the Fantasy Super Bowl, which, as we saw this past weekend, assuming even if Drew Lock is back, he loves throwing interceptions. So I would target all those defenses. I would get multiple. I have 3 or 4 of these defenses on your team, including whatever stud defense you've been running with all year, and then play the matchups to see how it goes. But you also are blocking your competitors from being able to get a better defense during the playoffs. So that is my best fantasy hack at Week 13, Week 14 time of the year.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, he's Joey T, Capitol Grill, downtown DC, and you can connect with him on Twitter at JoeyT5656. Thanks, Joey.
Thank y'all very much. Good luck this weekend.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit an Idea.
This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Ray Cruz. Take advantage of historically low mortgage rates for your first, next, or refinance mortgage with Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray believes the home mortgages should be about relationships. With rates as low as 2.875%, you can now save on your monthly mortgage or choose to cut years off your mortgage, saving tens of thousands. To learn more about your options, call Ray Cruz at 301-761-2278 or apply online at raypcruz.com.
Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Welcome back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, and thanks for joining us for episode 22. We have Coach O'Neill and Coach Turner in the studio as we do every week. We are winding down season number 1 and looking forward to continued success as we plan for season 2, which begins in January. I'm going to let a little bit of the cat out of the bag. We've had some production meetings, and we've got an exciting season 2 that people need to tune in for. You got to subscribe. You got to do whatever you have to do because Coach Turner, to my right, and across from me, Coach O'Neill, they've got some guests lined up and some thoughts and some things we're working on that you guys want to be here for season 2. Now, let's get into our weekly sports wrap-up. College basketball. Do I need to? I mean, he's all smart. Can I say what I want to say first?
Feel free.
All right. The season has begun. Seems like forever since we've gotten some college hoops. What are you looking forward to with college hoops back on the menu?
I'm going to go first because I know how excited this man is right here.
And then you'll yield your time?
Yeah, and then I'm just going to sit back and relax. I love seeing kids be kids, even though they're still young men in college. But I love seeing them out playing the sport they love. But transition to Steve, I love seeing your former players out there. Michigan, Vanderbilt, Canes. I mean, the list goes on and on, but just seeing them get a couple debuts this past weekend. So
besides everything, what are you looking forward to with college hoops? He's going to need some AA batteries for his remote because he's going to be watching a lot of TV.
I know.
I told you guys this, and I think I said it on another episode before this. I enjoy the most is being able to watch what I like to call my walking trophies.
Yep.
And being able to turn on a TV any night of the week and seeing one of my former players perform and leaving everything he's got on the floor for his college, it puts a big smile on my face. And to have this weekend go by and having been able to see a lot of games and a lot of those guys already having success, especially when you get the freshmen out there and they get their opportunities
early.
Yeah, that's
and are contributing to wins and contributing to the program right away. I don't know if it's confirmation, like letting you know that you did something right.
You done good.
But it just puts a smile on my face, and to watch T and Hunter Dickinson, who we played against. To watch 2 WCAC guys last night on a big stage, national TV, find a way to get it done in overtime for their team. It was special, and it's crazy because I said it. I don't have a problem saying it. I was talking to a good friend of mine during the halftime, and I was like, "Hey, what if I'm telling you right now? I would love to see Coach Howard go to playing his 2 freshmen together." And these 2 have been playing together, playing in this high-low action against zone for years. Shoot, basically out of the womb, 8-unders.
Right.
And sure enough, he ended up going to it. And I think it was a big part of their success last night and put a smile on my face to see a couple guys playing together who've had to play for the last 4 years against each other.
Yep.
Representing the WCAC, which we know is the best conference in high school basketball. And those guys in the early part of their careers helping their team to a win. So I'm like a kid. What's the
candy store?
Or what's the big toy store in New York?
Toys R Us.
FAO Schwartz.
FAO Schwartz, man.
I'm
in FAO Schwartz right now with college basketball back on.
And you got just an unlimited gift card, huh?
No doubt. Just click of a button. back and forth to some different games, and I'm
you got Fox Sports North, you got BIG10 Network, you got all the
ACC
ESPNs.
Network.
All that stuff going on. Coach, I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
You were getting your fill right now. Let's go to the NFL, and not on our script. Tyreek Hill, 13 catches, 15 targets, 269, 3 TDs, and a backward somersault into the end zone. He had 207 yards, I believe, receiving in the first quarter.
He had over 40-something fantasy points because my son was going crazy in the car in the first quarter.
Yeah.
He had over 40 fantasy points.
So we expect Joey T to talk about him this week.
He's
on my fantasy team. He's on my team.
Yeah, so he's on Jared's
He
too.
dropped me 50 last night.
So you forgot to start him?
No, are you kidding me? Always start that young man. He's a fast guy.
Yeah, he did some things, but then the scoring cooled off, and it became a good game towards the end there, and the Chiefs got that win, though.
That's right.
All right. Kyler Murray has cooled off the past couple of weeks. What are we thinking, gentlemen?
I think he's a little banged up. In that shoulder. I know we'll have this talk about the Ravens here, but I don't think Arizona's that good.
Okay.
Got a decent running back.
Right.
I do love Larry Fitzgerald, and obviously
he didn't play, right?
No, I don't know if he played too, but look,
Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins. They got great receivers and stuff. I just don't think they're that good. But Kyler Murray,
even a talented team like that, they have to learn how to win, right?
Sure. They should have won yesterday, and I don't think the kicker did him any favors to missing that kick.
He's bound to have a couple games like this. He's not gonna be the as the kids like to say, the quick stick every single night.
Right.
But I'm still buying his stock though.
But careful in that division. So we know the Seahawks are good. Right. The Rams have been good. They've been a little banged up too. But San Francisco, with their injuries in the NFC West, they came back and got the win last night.
Yes, they did.
And they're injured. What he's doing out there, Shanahan, is pretty special.
Was it 10, 12 injuries maybe? To key players?
Significant guys.
Yeah.
But they're making,
It's good. It's certainly we're not happy about being in the middle of this pandemic.
Right.
I think we're all ready. We're through with it, done with it, ready to move on at some point. But it has made for a lot of interesting conversation in sport.
Well, I think we're seeing, even in the NFL, we're seeing, storylines that maybe we wouldn't talk about otherwise.
Yes.
And that makes for a great podcast, I think. What are we expecting? Steelers-Ravens in Tuesday Night Football. They have, I see on the screen, I think, 2 more Ravens were identified.
I think the Steelers are annoyed that this game had to get moved. So I'm expecting them to run the score, but they have an opportunity to.
But people were saying yesterday, because the Broncos game the Broncos were asking, they're like, we have all of our quarterbacks.
All of them.
So can we move the game to Tuesday? Because that'll give us those, or Monday.
The NFL said
they no, because it's not an outbreak. So I guess the Ravens have an outbreak on there. I don't know what we're going to see from but I think you're right. I think the Steelers are going to.
I think the Steelers are going to do them in.
Who knows? It's a whacked out year.
Who's your current non-QB MVP? You're pointing to me. Am I the MVP?
No, you're always.
Let me ask the question: who's your non-QB MVP right now in the NFL?
When I saw this question earlier, I said, well, yesterday was Tyreek Hill, Derrick Henry.
Okay,
and so that is alluding back to what I said earlier, episode 22, number 22. The big fella, the big running back for the Titans.
He just racks up yards.
Just racks them up. He is positive on every carry. Every carry. I don't care if you hit him in the backfield. He's going to fall forward and get at least something.
I got nothing to say because that's who I was going with as well.
Were you really? Sorry.
No.
Well, Derrick Henry. All right, let's turn our attention to college football as we move closer to conference championships. Who are your 4 BCS teams, Coach O'Neill?
Alabama, excuse me. I don't know. Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and I struggled with the 4th one because people are going to say Ohio State. Ohio State clearly is one of the top 4 most talented teams without fail, and I see this question coming up after that. But I think Florida's pretty decent. I think Florida slipped up. I knew that'd make you happy against Texas A&M. Right, a 3-point loss.
Right,
Texas A&M got absolutely throttled by Alabama a couple weeks ago, but that's their one loss. A&M's ranked higher in Florida, of course, because they beat them. But Florida's pretty good. I watched.
There's some flaws in their game, but yeah,
there's a little bit. It's going to end up being Ohio State. They'll figure out a way to get their games in. So But I'm just saying.
Coach O'Neal. I mean, Coach Turner, excuse me.
I had the same teams, and it's funny that Florida.
But you don't have BYU in there?
No, I don't. I don't. And, I like Florida, though, too. It's definitely the Heisman. I think the Heisman is definitely, if we go to the next phase of that, the Heisman is going through the quarterback this year.
Sure.
Right.
And if any of those 4 of those 5 that we just talked about, between Notre Dame, Bama, Clemson, Florida, and Ohio State, 5 darn good ones. So some of these losers right now in the NFL, you got an opportunity to pick up somebody pretty darn good maybe in the next season.
Some nice guys.
Speaking to your BYU thing, I heard one of the commentators say BYU could go 20 more games in this very season. They're still not going to get. They're still not cracking that.
I know. It's tough. It's tough. And Cincinnati was having a nice year, too. I mean,
are they still undefeated?
They still are, but their game was canceled this past weekend.
So Clemson Notre Dame 2 looks like a sure thing. How is that one going to play out this time?
Oh, come on. You know how I feel about that one.
Well, they got their boy back, right?
They had about 5 injured starters on defense out.
Okay.
They didn't have their starting quarterback, who that young fellow. We talked about that. And
you still like their number 2 guy.
And they go to double overtime.
Right.
So they'll. But Notre Dame is look, big teams step up in those big games. Who knows how it's going to play out?
They keep rolling
Clemson's
along.
Not, they're not perfect, but I hope they win. I've become a fan the past year and a half. So
yeah, you have. Who you got? Clemson, Notre Dame 2. That's assuming like the U doesn't went out and beat people they shouldn't, and that assumes Notre Dame doesn't take a couple losses.
Notre Dame and the U don't play each other.
No, they're not going to play each other. No,
they
they're not.
should.
You would be correct. I looked at the schedule, and they're not going to play each other, so we don't get one to knock out the other. But that's the way it's going to play out. Most likely, I would say, if you were in Vegas, there's a 99.9% chance this is the ACC championship. Coach Turner, this is what you wanted to see, right? You want to see them run the table for that 1 year, jumping in the ACC, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can. What do we got? 3 more games?
Maybe 2.
2 or 3?
I think it's 2 or
because December 19th, maybe.
So
when the ACC championship is.
They win out. They become the first team to come in their only year to be the regular season champs.
Right. That's if they beat Clemson.
I think Vegas has a lot to do with this.
Okay.
So Clemson wins the ACC championship game, and you get part 3.
Oh, wow. You want to see part 3 in January.
You want to see Alabama.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I hear you.
You know, one team that wasn't brought up,
3.
Wisconsin has a very talented team, but they just can't play any games.
Well, they like 1-0? How many have they played? I'll take a look.
All right, last question. Go for it.
Last question. Where are we? Oh, with Ohio State playing the fewest by far games versus the others in the conversation, will that serve as a disadvantage when it's time to play big games?
I think we've talked about it, not having games, practices being cut off, continuity. Like when you got to go against those in the big games, you got to be clicking on all cylinders.
Right.
And to win those games, to become the national champion, you got to be playing your best ball. And then they haven't been put in a position, I think, to play their best ball when we get to the end.
And if it does, it's going to be some good ball. They're good. They're very
talented.
And it's a shame that you don't get to see them a little bit more often. I mean, Ohio State's got to play Michigan. Michigan couldn't beat.
They can't beat
Penn State, who was 0-5.
Right.
I mean, what is going on?
I want to know.
Michigan State's not that good.
But how about Michigan State's win this weekend?
That was it. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. But it's just the Big Ten, which we thought going into this season before COVID and everything was just, probably the best football division. But
I think their powers to be jumped the gun.
True.
And they've cost some of their teams.
We're not even talking about the Pac-12 either, too.
Right.
That really jumped the gun.
They've cost some of their teams to be where we would expect them to be right now.
Very true.
I want to know at 9-0 why Coastal Carolina can't get into the BCS.
I was going to say them as my 4th team because I think it would be cool. I think it would be cool to see something like that.
But it
won't happen.
Playoff.
And Marshall's 7-0.
Do it. Why not?
I'd say let's go for it.
Go for it.
Louisiana Lafayette, they're 8-1. Come on. Can we get them in the conversation?
Not too far from Arkansas.
Pine Bluff. There you go. All right. All right. That is our weekly sports wrap up. Let's take it to break.
Be sure to listen at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
At Peace Players International, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities of conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerandoneal.com and click Submit an Idea.
Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerandoneal.com. Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By partnering with Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. With thousands of listeners, subscribers, and website visitors, your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Our partners also benefit from our exposure on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and Apple Podcasts. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
The final word is brought to you by
Healthy Baller. Become your own success story. At Healthy Baller, our team of specialists is committed to providing injury recovery and strength and conditioning training tailored to individual needs. Watching our clients break barriers fuels our passion for athletic development. With scheduled sessions or drop-in classes, Healthy Baller has a success story waiting for you. We offer group and team training, individual workouts, or semi-private training. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com.
Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to become a friend of the program. We rely on contributions to bring this podcast to you each week. Contribution amounts start at $25, and of course, your contribution will get your name listed on our website and mentioned each podcast as a friend of the program. We are nearing the end of season 1, and we're going to turn our attention to season 2. So now is the time to commit to an advertising opportunity with Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. From donors to sponsors to premier partnerships, now is the time to get your brand in front of our audience. With advertising opportunities as low as $25 per episode, you can contact us today to build your brand through our podcast. Connect with us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast. We want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are just a handful of subscribers away from our next milestone, so please go to YouTube, type in Take It To You, and then you can subscribe to our channel. And then guess what? When we drop a new episode, it's going to hit your phone and you'll know it. You won't miss a thing. Follow, like, and add. Spread the word. We are on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and on 15 podcast platforms. Feel free to email our show with your questions, content ideas, comments, and critiques. Send those emails to turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com. Before we sign off, thanks to our engineer, DJ Krissy, and YouTube gentlemen, Coach Steve Turner and Coach O'Neill. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners. We encourage our audience to support those who support us. Also, thank you to Christy Winters Scott, Coach Dawn Brown down at Arkansas Pine Bluff, 2 awesome women, awesome guests we had today. Gentlemen, any final thoughts? I'll start with you, Coach Turner.
Again, you said it already. Great episode. I learned so much more about these 2 women, and really, really thankful to them for giving their message today. And it again, I'll say it again, the message was the same. Work hard. Believe in yourself. Stay grounded.
Right.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, Coach O'Neill.
I think it's the beauty of what's been created in these 22 episodes, whether it be social issues, lacrosse, basketball, strong women figures that these young ladies can look up to, which we had today. I love that each week, you just never know what we're going to have on. And today we had, an incredible group of two strong women. Awesome. Great people.
All right. So the weekly quote is mine, and I am calling an audible. Coach Dawn Brown, steered me away from my quote that I was gonna go, and she said something about a lot of young folks don't know what hard work is. She said that. So I'm gonna go with Thomas Edison, which is not my first quote, but I thought about this instantly when she said something about people don't know what work looks like. And his quote is, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work." Thomas Edison.
Let's go.
Krissy, pull the plug.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our partners, the Tamara Kucik team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, Peace Players International, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, and Collins Funeral Home. Our donors, Redwood Investments, Justin O'Neill, donor, and Winsight Media. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcast, and other popular podcast platforms. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Be sure to search and subscribe. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerando'neill.com. Partnership opportunities are available.